This thing on? Hello, hello. My name is Fran Reilly. I'm originally from just outside Dublin in Ireland, a small town called Bray, so that's where I was born and raised. Crew chief on the number 5 Indy Lights team for Santa Lucia. Oversee everything kind of on the car and be a liaison between the engineer who makes decisions and the guys who make all the change on the cars. Make sure that we're ready on time for sessions and the car is up to spec. My father had a garage business in Ireland, a small independent service shop, and he used to service mainly a lot of German cars, BMWs, Audis, Porsches. He had quite a good reputation. He was also involved in rally sports, rally cars, and he was basically a service manager, which is the same as a crew chief for a small amateur team, and so I was always in and around racing. So then when I was 13 or so, he decided we were going to go do some karting. So I said, okay, so we did some kart racing up till I was about 15, 16. Then we made the move into Formula Ford 1600s. Was fairly successful, won some races, went to England to compete. And so, oh yes, always been around racing. Well, I went to England to pursue a career as a driver. At the time, it was very, very competitive. Didn't have any major sponsor or anything, so a lot of what I earned went into the car. And as a result as well, I tended to work on my own car and prep that. So, and at that time, it was transitioning into a lot of works teams, and high-end teams. So it was hard to compete against. It was competitive, but at one stage, I think I had a sort of semi-works car from a team called Van Diemen. But one day I had a huge wreck, and I had to give the car back to where I got it. So took out an overdraft from the bank, and started, because I worked on my own cars, I did some prep work for some other teams and got into it that way. At some stage along the way, I found out it was easier to work and have some money to spend, do things like eating and having rent. So transitioned into looking after cars in that respect then. So that was when I was about 25 or so. Well, I'd always wanted to come to America and check it out, but kind of to do it somewhat legally. At the time where I was from, Ireland, there was a big reputation of people coming over here and disappearing. So I can't remember exactly, but at some stage there was America introduced a lottery system for visas, and you had to apply for it, and I by chance got one. So it meant that I got to come over to the States legally and check it out, and my plan was to do it for 6 months and check it out, and that was probably 5 years ago. So yeah, through a visa lottery program, but it was cool. Well, I guess coming from Ireland, I did know a lot of people over here, so I ended up staying for a few months with a friend just outside Chicago who I knew from home, and got introduced to a couple of people and got my first job looking after an Indy Lights team for a team called Dick Simon Racing in Indianapolis. So went from there down to Indy, and basically been in the west side of Indy ever since. Well, I stepped away, I think, because we had a young family, and it was getting to a situation where you have to be fully committed, so a lot of time on the road, and I just needed a break. So I didn't step exactly too far away, because I ended up working for ARC, which is the wind tunnel here in town. So still got to see a lot of racing people and be involved in racing. And then, unfortunately, when the recession hit in about 2008, the companies who were using the wind tunnel decided to kind of cut back their programs, and that meant that transitioned back. Well, okay, we don't have it. You need to look for something else. And I went back and started doing some work for some small SCCA teams, some based out of Wisconsin. So, kind of got back into that way. And first of all, the people who are in the series, in the sport, are very competitive. They like to compete. I mean, I like to compete and win. You know, sometimes we don't always get to win, but you know, it's definitely it's a chance to compete and win. It's a chance to work with some cool stuff, because either way you look at it, racing cars are kind of cool, and a lot of it's to just do with the people. Like, you know, you can go into any paddock and there's people you know, and that you have, you know, just a good time with and good camaraderie. I think offhand, not a whole lot. I know that when we won Texas IRL race in 2002 with Jeff Ward, we were very much an underdog team. If you looked at race up, you'll see that Wardy won the thing by about 2 inches, and that was the only 2 inches we led all night, so that was kind of cool. There's other things as well, like, you know, when we won the Freedom 100 here with Dean Stoneman a couple of years ago, that was right down to the wire, and it's you know, it's always good when you win, but those two stand out. I took my 2 sons back to Ireland last fall break, so last October, and it was the first time that the smallest one, a 10-year-old, hadn't been there, so it was kind of cool to just me and my 2 boys. I have a daughter as well, but she was busy doing something else. Myself and my 2 boys got to go back to Ireland, and the weather was great, so we got to go to do a lot of things that I saw when I was growing up, and just had a change, but just for them. We have 3 kids, myself and my wife. So we had a junior and a freshman in high school, and then we got a 4th grader. So there's always something going on. My daughter's involved with band at Avon. My son is just getting into his own stuff now with robotics and all that. And then the little guy is also, he keeps us busy. It's just, you know, it's always something going on. Just somebody that was, you know, not afraid to jump in, to always help out. Hopefully that people could learn things from. You know, I think definitely in this, you always come across stuff that's new, or an aha moment where, oh, okay, that's good and that's different. But, you know, just to be someone that helped out and did their best, you know, gave it their all. But